Hey everybody, hope you guys doing alright. So here is just a little picture I drew again to show how this could theoretically work. This is a picture that's drawn, because I really want to get this overseas to places like Africa and other countries that are devastated by whatever this devastation may be, because it has the ability to solve all the problems, really. There's a way to get you guys good clean water. You can filter out the water with hemp filters. Right here, this building is the multi-purpose generator, the multi-purpose nonprofit exchange center, hemp-based. So this is where all the resources will be generated. This is where all the goods will be sold and where people will be working to help sell and retail and distribute the goods. And then it's just a short distance away from where we live, which is essentially going to be eventually I'd like it to be more like a Hempcrete castle, because I love castles and I think they're cool. And it's also because the main motive of all this movement is a defense, because I feel like there is a very, very strong and serious nefarious threat that's getting ever and ever closer to really coming after us in full force. So we need to start preparing for this onslaught as well as we can. And so this is the best that I've come up with is, just having each one of these rings would be a hempcrete wall. And if hemp is processed the right way, as I've shared with you guys, it can be made to be stronger than steel. So it has very, very, very high defensive capabilities. So we would have just a number of rings. It doesn't have to be, 6 or 7 or 5 or 3. It can be however many it needs to be, or however many is able to be built in that particular area. But this is just the general design that I think would work best. And then outside of the rings, you could have traditional farm growing systems or places or agricultural type functions where people will be farming outside. That could also help to feed the infrastructure, as well as help give goods to the multi-purpose exchange center, which will be used to fund resources to pay for our essential needs here, and also to go towards charity organizations and training operations, and to expand the movement. And this is also going to be an aqueduct that I'd like to develop it above and underground, but it's really probably more efficient just to go underground. But anyway, depending on, again, the resources and the allowance and what's available, it depends on what we're able to do. So yeah, then it would just be right outside the multi-purpose center, exchange center, would be right next to the town, so that the townspeople could, if they wanted to, still live in the towns, but we'd at least be able to offer them at a close distance the nonprofit organic goods. So this would help take away from the plastic industry, from the poisons, from the chemicals, from all this perpetuation of lower vibrational products and bullshit and empires and corporations. And you give it to the people right there for them, so it's real close. And then it would also help to funnel and fuel and expand our movement, which is all about, pushing back this beast system. And that money goes back into the infrastructure where we could all be living. And then, just again, based on defense, number one, so right in the middle, you want to have the most dire essentials for people to survive and defend themselves. Pretty simple. Number two, that's where I would have a stockade or a surplus of all of our additional supplies and gear and whatever else we have that's in surplus. You'd have that right outside the most dire. Number three, this is where I would put the living arrangements. So this is where people, that's where you can have spaces to people to pay for, at nonprofit prices, plots of land to build whatever. If somebody wants to build a bigger house than somebody else, that's fine. We all got, as long as there's room available. Now, see, that's another thing too. Working within the space and the population, you have to be considerate. So if there's a lot of people, there's not much space, you're not going to be able, it's just not fair to give somebody, a ton of space when it's going to take away from somebody else who doesn't have any space. So things like that need to be considered, but essentially that would be the next area, the next circle would be the living quarters or living space. And it's also the congregation area. That's where people could talk and, conversate, communicate, all this type of stuff, discuss ideas and bounce things back and this and that. So number four would be the working, growing, training, education, production, distribution area, and governing. Because I believe in governing, man. I think government is a good thing. It doesn't have to be a huge, giant corporation like it is today, because that's really what it is. You start small with simple basics, like don't hurt each other, don't say things that are going to hurt each other, don't steal, don't, all these basic human things that most human beings will agree with aren't good to do. Let's just make that rules of the land. And that is a simple rule of government. Don't make it too complex. That's why the devil works in complexities. God's really simple. The commandments are very simple. So it doesn't have to be that, but just basic rules to make sure people don't hurt each other, the planet, and other animals, essentially. All right, so let's move on. So again, that would be, what is that, number four? That would be the fourth ring right here. And these are all defended by Hempcrete, made reinforced walls, as strong as we can make them. So that if we have to, we can keep defending behind our walls. And that's just another layer the enemy's going to have to fight to get past. So it gets to our advantage. All right, number five is a free range, safe area. This is also the area that I'd like to see, an animal conservatory. Like I said, here in America, we kill a lot of cats and dogs every single year. And there's no good reason. There's just not enough funding. That's the only reason, but it's absolutely absurd because we have tons of money here in America, and yet we still be killing dogs and cats like they're crazy. It's ridiculous, and it's more nefarious than that. But I'm not going to go into that right now. But anyway, that would be this number 5 area. And again, as we need to defeat or as we need to, if we're getting defeated in the battle, we have to keep on going back deeper into our defensive circle. We would also want to find a way to muster the animals so that they too could be safe and come with us as we retreat back into our, the deeper parts of our castle. Not to say, I'm just saying, I don't want you to think that we would just leave them out there and they would just be slaughtered. No, we want to, that's just you could have them mingling in with the work area and stuff. It doesn't have to be strict, but I do want to have like a safe, that's just the spot that I figured would be good to have the animals. Maybe have them closer. I don't know. Part of me feels like maybe they should be living more amongst us. But this type of stuff is open to negotiation. Obviously, it's nothing set in stone here. So, all right, let's move on. So then the last line of defense, and again, it doesn't have to be 6 of these. It could be 13 of them. It could be just 2 or 3. But this particular model, the 6th line right here, would be the last line of defense. So this is where you would want to put. There are technologies, there are different weapons, there are different things that we can make and use, and there's positions and battlements and techniques that we can develop and implement and build to give us very, very, very powerful strategic and defensive capabilities. I've been told by veterans who came to me when I was in Florida living in a homeless shelter. The dude walked up, he was just giving food to homeless people at the homeless shelter, and he was one of the ones that really told me, like, don't join the military. Like, he's a former veteran telling me, don't join the military. They're up to no good. You're better off not doing it. He also told me it isn't that hard to take down helicopters and shit in the sky. Just saying. So there's ways that we can defend ourselves. There's ways we can build technology. You can make pretty much anything out of hemp. So there's a possibility you could even make guns out of hemp. And not to mention, if you can't make it out of hemp, you could go back to the old traditional way, or we could just find a way to do exchanges with people that do have firearms. And of course, we got to make sure everything's done by the book, as long as it needs to be done by the book so that we don't get ourselves in trouble. But these are for defensive purposes, and we are up against a very powerful and very well equipped and very well connected opponent. So it's important that we act in a similar way, but not in their nefarious bad way, but by coming together and also equipping ourselves with what we need to fight a fight and defend ourselves, because these are some serious motherfuckers out there that are hell-bent on our destruction. So all right, yeah, I love you guys. Hope you all have a good night. Bye.